Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Yakuza Kiwami perspective. Now, I actually did play this on Xbox Series X, but I had gotten these cheap on, PlayStation at a certain point, but, after playing Zero on PlayStation, I was like, I'll see, and then I got, kind of hooked and wanted to, well, not hooked, but wanted to see what the rest of the series was about, and also kind of show support on Xbox systems with Sega games and stuff. And this is a weird one, alright? Because this is a remaster of the first Yakuza game, and that came out in 2005. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in Japan, 2005, North America, 2006-ish. But even with the kind of upgrades and systems that go on, it definitely feels like that old of a game. And that isn't good, because it made me appreciate more kind of things that Yakuza 0 did. Because Yakuza 0 was a 2017 game. 2015. Damn. No, worldwide release of 2017. That's weird. Yep, you always gotta watch out for that. It's okay. But this, I do like that it was more on just Kiryu Kazuma's perspective, but you can also tell that the story is not as good. And if you had seen me talk about Yakuza 0, I don't like the story was not the highlight for me, and that was weird. This is somehow a simpler story that still somehow gets into convoluted fuckery that occurs. You see certain twists a mile off, and then you're just it's execution. Now, granted, a twist that occurs that can be obvious upon, reflection and hindsight, that's fine. Seeing, a heist movie of, Ocean's 11 and being okay, that's how they did it. That helps with enjoyment on certain things. This was just okay. And then again, I'm, looking to the side stories to pick up the slack. But the thing is, you then have side stories that are connected to mini games. Now this is more going to be in my Kiwami 2 kind of perspective, because I started that and there's fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-day. But this is close enough to Yakuza 0's kind of systems that you won't get completely fucked over, whereas the shift from Kiwami 1 to Kiwami 2, you're just what the fuck is going on here? Because it controls differently, it looks different, it's what the fuck? Now granted, it's not you go completely and the triggers now work as the analog sticks. It's not to that kind of extreme level, but there's enough of tweaks and changes, it's what the fuck? One of the sub-stories, I had to go into a mini game in 2, and it just was what the fuck? And it didn't work anything like any of the previous kind of ones. And it's granted, they probably want you to hold off on it or whatnot, but I'm always kind of leery to see if you've got a sub story out here, is it going to be timed and fuck me over? But in here, we mainly get the sub stories that they do kind of callbacks and kind of connect up with certain stuff from Zero, but most of them were not as enjoyable as I would have liked, so it overall did hamper my enjoyment of this one. And I didn't like how the fighting happened with boss battles, because granted, I could get fucked over a little bit by certain kind of grunts or whatnot, but I overall got into a nice kind of flow or everything. However, boss battle designs in this were just fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-day, eat my ass any which way kind of shit. It's what? Yeah, that's... It's funny, I'm starting on the story, but it's the systems that really give you the kind of problems that really kind of occur. I didn't expect myself to not be into this as much and to just be like, Kiryu, what the fuck are you doing? What the hell is going on with this kind of shit? Now, granted, I did like the callbacks to the Pocket Circuit, which, if you play Yakuza 0 first, and then this one, that should be the order you do, because then you're like, oh, okay, Kiryu's back, he came, because there's a whole kind of time thing that goes on, and he just has a nice little story there. It's like, okay, cool, it's the same kind of shit that you went through in 0, but you're like, alright, it at least continues. Alright, let's go over with the story pretty much first. So, we're pretty much in 1995, and he's like a lieutenant kind of advisor. We got the Shinji dude who we kind of met in a Zero Sub story, who's like very much into the respecting of his elder. They go and they pretty much beat up this dude to get money from him. He pretty much takes it to like the Kazuma family, but then he's like trying to like help stuff with this whole kind of like birthday thing with this Yumi chick that both him and Nishiki are into, and at Reina's bar at Serena. And we then go on this roundabout fuckity-doo-dah thing to pretty much get her a present ring, which we do, and she likes it the most. And Nishiki got her this really great necklace, and Reina's pretty much dropping like the biggest fucking 5-ton hints of like, ooh, I would like that or whatnot, because you could see that she's into Nishiki. Granted, they are more like, granted, she's fucking explicit about it almost. Well, not that she's like gigantically explicit of like, Nishiki, I'm naked kind of shit, but like she says that she was into Nishiki before she fucking dies. And that's the thing. It really falls into those fucking stupid ass narrative traps of being like, oh, you like Nishiki, and now you're pretty much dead. Alright, cool, whatever. But they're like going and doing the usual kind of stuff. They fuck around a little bit until he goes to try and find him. Goes to Sohei Dojima's kind of shit. We see that evidently he pretty much tried to take and rape Yumi, and Nishiki killed him to protect her. Now, granted, we don't know how far it went, but Yumi is severely traumatized. Nishiki's like, what the fuck? And Kiryu decides to take the fall for this. He goes in prison for 10 years, comes out around 2005, and everything kind of fucked up. Nishiki's a douche, and decides to pretty much kill shit. And then, oh my god. See, this is where the story also gets kind of fucked up, in that we have flashbacks. Like, I definitely can tell that they're like, oh, look at this. Discover what caused Nishikiyama's dark transformation and never before seen backstory. Do you want to know how they do that backstory, my friends? You see, they decide to just put in flashbacks out of fucking nowhere with no context of being like, okay, we're doing this main story, flashback out of nowhere, Nishikiyama in like 1996, as they pretty much make him a head of a family to pretty much take care of Kiryu when he comes out, because he took the fall for killing the patriarch. Somebody pretty much sent an assassin in after him, Chairman Sarah, who we thought he had a decent enough relationship in 0, which this proves the point of why prequels are fucking nutty and create problems that you then have to fucking retcon because somebody tries to kill him in prison, and they actually have to make a sub-story to explain why somebody tried to kill him in prison, even though Chairman Sarah expelled him from the clan, which normally if you killed a motherfucker who is a patriarch, you would get banished, or at least killed, I believe. Like, it's really kind of weird that they would let the police kind of handle this. But granted, this is our protagonist and our hero, even though he's following more kind of like samurai kind of shit instead of Yakuza shit. And they kind of conflate the two, and it gets kind of fucking annoying. Especially from what I've been seeing in like Kiwami 2. It's like, but it's just like, alright, so he's in prison, he gets out, and then we get introduced to Goro Majima. And he's a crazy kind of character. We had seen that, like, Kiryu interacted with him to kind of stop him from, like, pretty much beating and killing one of his subordinates for, like, jacking up this one dude. And then he gets out of prison, he's like, oh, you're not the Dragon of Dojima. And then comes the system that fucks up so much. Because, granted, I can talk about this story, but this is where the story introduces it. Whereas in Zero, we had the Mr. Shakedown kind of thing where you could get money and shit. By the way, money is a fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-day in this one. Now, granted, I never really ran out of it, but the thing is, I am a overly cautious, anal motherfucker on this kind of shit. And I always look out for the case of where a game is made to screw me out of money completely to where I get fucked completely and can't either advance the story or I have to do a fucked up grind ass shit to try and like get past it. So I kind of like preemptively kind of grind certain kind of things to make sure shit kind of goes well. Because in this one, you don't get money. You instead you get money for certain kind of things, but then you get like experience points to do your abilities, which that was fucking stupid. I had to go through a lot of completion shit, do mini games and weird other shit to get these kind of things to allow me to get more experience. It's just a whole kind of thing. Like, the systems are not designed well at all. Case in point, this Majima one. So it's like, oh, okay, you're essentially going to fight this motherfucker pretty much throughout the game to get back your abilities. That sounds good on paper. However, he's everywhere in the world. Like, there's parts where he'll jump out of a trash can. He'll jump out of a manhole. He'll jump down from some butt-fucking nose place. He'll jump out of a traffic cone that's giant and fucking shit. He'll just be pulling around like kind of Mr. Shakedown. You could at least dodge Shakedown more effectively than fucking Majima. Say you're trying to go to the next story mission, or try and find a sub-mission, or God forbid, just go into a motherfucking store. Yes, my friends. Now granted, this only happened a couple of times, but if I'm trying to get something so that way I've got healing items, or eat something so that way I complete like a checklist of eating at a restaurant, or get food to get my health back up, so that way I don't have to buy an overly priced thing to get my health things up, it's bad when you then get thrown into a fucking boss fight that you're not prepared for. And it's just like, like, it's not even like taking into the fact that you've got the other kind of enemies you have to deal with. Because sometimes you could start a fight with those enemies and then, boss fight, cause fuck you, I'm gonna punch you in the taint. Punch, punch. No. Like, it's just maddening how it's designed, because there's very limited avenues for you to be able to run away and get away from this kind of thing, because sometimes you could be like, you just fought him, you keep fighting him, you're running out of fucking healing items, and you can't even get to the goddamn fucking drugstore to get the fucking healing items so that way you don't get your fucking shit rocked. Ugh. It's just, now granted, I am playing on hard mode, but even then, it's still like, I found that the difficulty was not coming from, like, the actual fucking difficulty. It's how it's designed. It's like, and then you have to track down certain ones to get certain dragon things, because that's tied into getting your Dragon of Dojima thing back, which you need to do. And you have to watch out, because if you go too far, if you get to a certain story thing, to get, like, the ultimate kind of Tiger Drop move, which I kind of needed, because the fighting system with boss fights went fuckity-doo-dah, fuckity-day. You're just like, oh god. So you have to juggle that, because fucker is just popping around, poking your ass with a fucking knife, and you're like, no. It's just, it was maddening. I did not like it. I liked the idea of it, but the implementation was like, no. This fucked up. So that's going on. He's kind of acclimating to what's kind of going on, trying to figure shit out, and then he's trying to see what's going on, but then out of nowhere, Chairman Sarah got killed. Nishiki. Because he brought up that the Tojo clan lost 10 billion yen. If you're like, why the fuck does this shit keep kind of happening? Because this is what it is in the Yakuza series. Nishiki brought it up. And it's like, what the fuck's going on with this? So he then got killed, and it's like, that kind of sucks, but whatever. And then he's pretty much tooling around, and we find out that they're trying to find the 10 billion yen, and he gets hooked up with this girl, Haruka, because he tries to go to this bar, and sees that she's the only one alive holding a gun, and he then starts a fucking thing where he, like, helps protect a puppy, and gives it food and everything, and then, starts working with this detective dude, Date-san, to figure out the whole kind of thing. Granted, there are certain kind of chapter things where you, like, help him out with his daughter and this kind of host club kind of shit. And it's like, alright, that gets more relegated to sub-stories and gets more interesting with the sub-stories, but not enough for me to be like, you gotta do it. I only do it because I need the experience points, because you need the fucking shit to get your shit locked up so that way you don't get your fucking asshole pushed in. So you're pretty much pulling around, you're trying to figure out shit, who took what. You go to the West Park, which is like called Purgatory, where all the homeless people are, and you get hooked up with this Force of Psi dude to get kind of more information on who took the money, where Yumi is, because he's looking for Yumi. We find out that Mizuki is Haruka's mother, and she's looking for her mother, and that Yumi had disappeared like 5 years into Kiryu's prison sentence, and nobody's pretty much seen from her since. Except this one woman who claims to be her sister has opened up this bar, and that she's disappeared. And it's like, okay, it's very convoluted, but this is what it boils down to. Yumi got helped by Shintaro Kazuma, pretty much the de facto dude that's pretty much Papa Daddy to Kiryu. However, we learned that he started this whole Sunflower Orphanage because he felt remorse. I guess he felt remorse. He, like, killed all these people, and then he, like, took the kids in that he fucking orphaned. And I'm just like, why do you idolize this man? He's a fucking asshole. And he's a plot dumper, because it fucking gets to a point where they're explaining this shit on a boat, and then you get, like, 2 plot dumps. Like, you get plot dump in one thing, or then this Shimano dude who you fight at fucking Chairman Sarah's funeral, because you go there, and it's like, alright, I gotta talk to Kazuma. And then he's kind of talking to him, but then he gets shot. And then the fucking Shimano dude's like, Kiryu came to kill another patriarch. It's like, the fucking dude doesn't have a gun. How the fuck would he have fucking shot him? And there's like no gun around. He's not screaming and like da-da. Like that. Like, Shimano is just a fucking asshole. And he also tries to kill a kid with a grenade, but then he gets fucking tanked by like someone else. And Kazuma gets killed by the grenade as he's trying to protect Haruka, and then plot dumps, Kiryu, I killed your parents. It's like, it's messy as shit, but the whole thing is like, Yumi is actually Haruka's father. No, Yumi is actually Haruka's mother. The father is this Jingo dude who just gets introduced fucking later, like, towards the end, is this politician dude who, for some reason, is trying to become the big old boss, who's the boss of, like, the political shit, and the underworld criminal organization shit. Sarah knew some kind of dirty secrets for him. He killed a journalist. He helped bury him. He wanted Yumi buried as well because he got together with her and they had Haruka before his like ambition started to take off. And the 10 billion yen is his, and he was laundering it through the Tojo clan. Except he says fuck the Tojo clan and tries to make a thing with the Omi alliance. And that's where this Terada guy pops in, but he's also, like, with Kazuma for some reason, and then that Terada dude becomes the next chairman because Kiryu's like, fuck this shit, I'm out. Boop, boop. Which is, like, one of the only smart fucking things he ever fucking did. At the end of the game, he, like, becomes the 4th chairman, resigns as the 4th chairman, and makes that dude the 5th chairman, which doesn't last long. Ha ha ha. That's because we got another game, my friends. But she pretty much was trying to take his money because fuck him, he's an asshole. And that's pretty much it. They kind of fuck around. Nishi's tried to become the chairman because he's gone completely nuts. In the flashbacks, we see that he's not really getting the respect, and everybody really has been treating him shitty, but however, that doesn't give you carte blanche to start, like, just fucking murdering people. We see that he's not given the stuff that he really needs to run his family well, and is given a dude who becomes a complete and utter unrepentant asshole. While he is trying to help his sister with a heart thing, the doctor's like, I need 30 million yen. And then he goes to the dude, he's like, get me my 30 million yen. He's like, yeah, I leaned on this one dude to get this 30 million yen. And it was the doctor dude. The doctor left. His sister died. He was about to kill himself. And then the dude's like, oh, what the fuck are you, such a weepy little blah, 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 blah. And then he just fucking kills him. And he's like, fuck you all, I'm gonna kill more people. Sarah. And then he's like pissed off with Kiryu. And I'm like, Kazuma's the asshole. Shit. Washikagi? Washigi? Why am I fucking blanking right now? Kashiwagi, I think. Kashiwagi, yeah. Oh god, and then he kills that dude, slicks back his hair, he's like, I'm evil now. It just, the execution of it was just fucking stupid. And then we're going through and we're getting all these boss fights, and the thing is, at least the boss fights were kind of better, at least for me, in Yakuza 0, but I still do not hold them up to good boss fight standards, because even talking and seeing this other kind of video talk about boss designs, these don't really work that well, because you're not really taught how to mess with them, you're not really given the training that you need. I mainly got to a certain point where I had to go through the fucking Coliseum, fuck that shit, because I needed to go through all this stuff to get, like, the Kamaki training, to get the Tiger Drop, which is a weird kind of thing, because it's more of a counter move that you had to use, and then, oh god, the Amon fight can go get fucked. I had to do weird shit to beat that asshole. Fuck him. I had to have, like, 3 sacrifice stones, and I'm just like, which, of course, bring you back to life after you pretty much get tanked by the motherfucker. I'm just like, ugh. Oh, and the thing is, I know it's a secret boss, you don't have to fight it and all that kind of shit. However, it still goes into the design of the dude fucking goes around like a goddamn cracked out piece of shit chupacabra motherfucker. And then you have to try and figure out, hey, how do I fight him? If you try and fight him regularly, good fucking luck. And then trying to even get him to kind of bait into attack so you can, like, crack out more of his health with the Tiger Drop. It's just like, fuck you. And then we start getting to other kind of boss fights. Early game boss fights, I'm kind of okay with. However, trying to, like, break blocks and everything at a certain point just got nutty. So it's like, Tiger Drop the motherfucker, bait him in, boom, 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 get out. Trying to grind through the Coliseum to do that was not an enjoyable experience, and it can go get fucked. Especially when you get introduced to people that, like, can thunder crack your health into, like, nothing, and your ability to, like, counter them is severely hampered. So you get that kind of stuff, and then you get certain kind of bosses. One boss, because you're going through, you're trying to figure out all this kind of stuff. Reina and Shinji pretty much get fucked over because Reina tries to kill Nishiki because she's been, like, spying on them and giving information to Nishiki, and she tried to make up for it and take responsibility, but then she got shot by, like, his captain, lieutenant fucker, Arase. And then fighting him, like, she dies, Shinji dies, and, oh god, it's so melodramatic. Like, I understand giving weight to character deaths, okay? And they hitting hard. I get that. That's part of the shit that, like, invests me into shit. This was just like, oh my god. Alright, whatever. But fighting this motherfucker, he's a gun dude who's just like, shooting around like a goddamn piece of shit, and I'm just running after him with a fucking knife, being like, get fuck here, asshole, when I just want to be punchy McPunchy fucker and, like, fight. I'm like, is this a brawling game, or am I trying to run around and fucking play poke ass with this dude? Just like, fucking get here. Oh god. It's like, you could be like, oh, didn't you feel a sense of accomplishment after you did it? No. I was just like, it's over, my soul is empty, and I feel like I got punched in the taint. Then we get towards the end of it. And that's, of course, where you had to do that stuff. You're like, alright, you gotta go to the Millennium Tower. And you gotta see what's going on with Yumi and all that. And you go, you get your info stuff, and then the Jingo dude pops down, and then you're fighting his fucking people, and it's just like takes forever to get to there. And you're trying to fight them. Most of them have guns, so like, hey, if you don't have a gun, even though it's a brawling game, you're kind of screwed, and you have to kind of like go up and like trying to like fight him with the Tiger Drop is a bitch and a half. And then you have to fight him with his 2 other dudes. They have guns first, and then you have to take them out, and then they have their knives, and then you have to like fucking go around, and this dude's like shooting at you and throwing grenades, and it's just like, why was this designed this way? So you, like, crack his ass out, and he makes this overly dramatic thing of, like, you knocked him out or fucking killed him. And then you're pretty much tracking up with Yumi. She's got a bomb to pretty much blow up the 10 billion yen. And they're getting ready to leave, but Nishiki's like, fuck you, Kiryu. I'm going to get Yumi because I love her, and I'm going to take this shit, I'm going to fight my fate. And I'm like, I get the idea of fighting fate, and I agree with it. not the way he's doing it. It's like, no, you're trying to control this person. Fuck you. And that 10 billion yen, fuck it. It's this dude trying to, like, control shit. Like, I agree with Yumi that it should not exist. It's like, fuck that shit. It's just bullshit. And Haruko was pretty much carrying around this fucking little thing. It's like little pendant. You find out that it's like a picture of Kiryu that Yumi had, like, latched on to. And then you fight Nishiki. And I did want to try and do it mano a mano, but I just went to Tiger Drop because I just couldn't be fucked with it because it was just taking too long at this point. I was like, there's probably not going to be a point where I can save. And that's the thing. Save points, you can do telepone boosts and save anywhere. But here, I didn't want to take that chance. I'm just like, fuck you, asshole. And just like Tiger dropped his ass to get done. So then we find out that the Jingu dude is actually alive. He shoots Yumi, and she's pretty much dying out. And he's like, there's my money, because she opened it to pretty much show the money because the plot demanded that the dude's like, my money! And then Nishiki runs up, pretty much stabs his ass. And, wait a minute, where did somebody... No, he's pretty much, like, the dude kind of gets stabbed, and then Nishiki's like, let me take responsibility for this, Kiryu. Shoots the bomb, blows up, and Kiryu's like, I've lost all of my friends. I'm kind of done. And he's only been with this girl for, like, a couple days. He, like, actually had to go to fucking Yokohama, I think, because the Triad fucking kidnapped her, because we got... Listen, I like that we at least went somewhere different, but it was just so like, I forgot almost to bring up another piece of bullshit. Bullshit. The chase sequence after that fucking kidnapping can go fuck itself hard. It's like the one in Zero, except it made me appreciate the one in Zero more, because this one was down to some RNG fucking crazy ass bullshit that would sometimes happen, because contrary to popular belief, do not aim for the head. Aim for the circle, the center of the circle, for what's going on to kill these people faster. And hope to God that the rockets don't kind of fuse out of certain places and go into a position where you can't fucking shoot them easily, because it takes for fucking ever to get your reticle into its reticle to shoot it and blow it up. That was fucking horrendous chase sequence. It was poorly designed and poorly executed, and I'm like, I appreciate you trying to change up my gameplay shit, but fuck that. Sorry that I went on a tangent after I was about to explain the ending of this game. However, I'm not gonna forget that fucking piece of shit. Like, no thank you. Because this is fucking shit. It's just, like, I don't mind on rails and, like, a different kind of segment to kind of shake things up. It's just, this is just, like, seeing that this would be, like, the beginning and how much has really not changed. They have all these kind of things, but they don't work well together intrinsically. It's like, okay, you can like certain kind of aspects of this, but, like, trying to get everything to kind of work and flow together, it's just, like, boom, 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 certain things just crashing upon one after another, where it's just like, this isn't fun, and the story is just like, what? And you're just trying to do the sub-stories, and you're like, I gotta do this, that, or the other. Whereas in Zero, they could have at least cut out the... what I mean when I'm saying cut out I mean cut out the real estate management and the cabaret club. Fuse those things together and just made a good game and story around that shit, with these guys just running around fighting people. Like, I don't care about the empty lot and all this stupid kind of underworld intrigue, because it's not executed in a thing that's interesting to me. The sub-stories, if put together in Zero, work better as a game for me. And the thing is, I didn't even have that here, where it's just like, shit. I'm just going on dates with hostesses to get through sub-stories so that way I can get experience. And just, like, it's even, like, taking less from me. It's like, damn, it does make me appreciate the shifting that they've done with, like, a Dragon War. Now, granted, I am going to replay that one before I do my perspective, so that way I have a fresher kind of perspective on the grinding and the crafting and all that kind of stuff going on, and the story. This, I'm just like, oh god. You could definitely tell it was their first one because of the design elements. There's only so much a new spray of paint and new systems can do to kind of put things in. And you notice how they are bolted on. It's like, this doesn't really fit here, does it, my friends? Odd. That's the thing. I don't like it, but I don't hate it. There are aspects in it that I do like and want to see, and hopefully see that they support and actually do better with. And I'll see how that kind of works out in the other games. However, the shifting and changing of certain things that I've seen in Kiwami 2 do not give me that, and it kind of tempers me more on that, and oh sweet Jesus. Now granted, when I get to 3, 4, 5, and 6, we'll see how that kind of stuff works out better, because it's closer to end of what's going on, and also to see how Judgment and Lost Judgment kind of work and change their own kind of aspects of what kind of goes on. Sorry, it's weird that I kind of almost got to the end of the story part of the game, but I needed to kind of get into another kind of thing. So, Kiryu is very sad and just shit, fine, you can just arrest me. And Date's like, no, you need to take care of Haruka. And it's like, I understand this to a degree, but she's already pretty much in the orphanage. Granted, pretty much headed by a dude that's a killer and everything like that, for the kids of the people that he's killed. And this dude, granted, we see that they kind of have a bond, but it's not really, I don't really get that much. I mean, he kind of slapped her at one point, she's like, fuck this shit, and runs off, and then tries to also then leave again because she feels that she's putting them in danger and creating too much trouble. And I like that he kind of takes responsibility to help this kid out, because they both don't have anybody. But it's again the execution and everything. He's only known this kid for a couple days or whatnot. It's alright, yeah, I'll do this. It's you just got out of prison. You're mainly fighting corrupt politicians and Yakuza almost every fucking day of the week. I'm nobody understands. Now granted, I know that their relationship is an important, integral, bedrock portion of this series. Alright? I get that. And I want it to be good. But at this, I'm just okay? I mean, it's good to do that good thing and help and make sure that she's okay. And you kind of get that kind of thing at the end. It's just, alright. Cool. So, it is very hard for me to even, recommend. I would almost say that you would need, to get, if it stays on Game Pass for a while, and you are able to get Game Pass, or, Game Share with somebody that's got Game Pass, you have to try it out. Now, if you're into good, developed characters and stories, I would not recommend it for that. Because this is just very simple, it gets convoluted and fucky-doo-dah, fucky-day, and it's just not as good as presenting the character moments, at least in my opinion. There's people that can disagree with me on that, and that's cool. Alright? If it works for you, awesome. I love it. That's cool. But, not for me, man. And I wouldn't really recommend it to other people. And the fighting systems, if I just kept it on the fighting systems of, fighting the grunts and whatnot, I'm okay with. But then you put in the bullshit, boss designs, and I don't even know if difficulty fucking helps you with that, if it's, built to be a piece of shit asshole that tries to be hey, you wanna cry today? In frustration? It's It's just when you're when you seriously think that you'd like to do anything else than that, and not really having fun with it, that's where it becomes a problem. Now, granted, in certain things, I did have fun. I'm yeah, taking these guys out, doing this shit, getting through this and helping these people. Alright. But then, the thing is, I've played through 2 already, fully, 0 2 times, Like a Dragon once, and this, and I'm starting 2, and the thing is, it definitely feels copy and paste with certain kind of stuff of okay, you change it just enough to try and do the kind of stuff. I wouldn't say asset flipping or whatnot. They at least put different kind of stories. Granted, they do the same locale of Kamurocho throughout the games, so that way you live it and feel it. That's a different kind of manner. That's the city portion is like a character in and of itself, and they do change what stores and people are involved in places. So I would never go to that kind of thing and be like, oh, it's just an asset flip. It's just like putting out a COD, putting out an Assassin's Creed, or like just like just barely change it, barely tweak it kind of shit. And granted, even then, they don't completely do that in those kind of games either. Now, granted, there's certain kind of things like, I've played this kind of quest before, it's the same kind of fucking concept, what the fuck, man? And you're just like, alright. Now, granted, playing these together makes those similarities more apparent. And kind of going through the way I am doing it might magnify those for me. So, it might be different than if somebody had grown up with the series and had time enough to like go and put distance between 0, Kiwami, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and Judgment, and Lost Judgment. Okay? So that's my thing, just like, okay, different experiences, I kind of get that. And if you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, it's fine, I get it. It's just, there's too many similarities with certain kind of things. It's like, alright, can we kind of get a little bit different? Like, I don't need it to be, like, completely changed where it's like, now he sits upon the rooftop, he has a Batman cape, and he's flying around like Batman. And then he can, like, shit out radioactive spiders. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need it to be changed to that part where he's just, like, fighting weird shit or doing weird shit like that. It's just changing up how you can get into certain kind of sub-stories, how their ebb and flows go, how their structures are. That kind of thing. That at least helps me out a little bit with like a Dragon, the 7th one, because you're going actual JRPG, turn-based combat, and it still fits within the realm of what's going on. That one definitely works better for me, and also because I like that they're older protagonists, dealing with different kind of problems, and they at least put out a decent kind of turn-based combat. It's like, alright, support that. This, I think that there should also be brawlers and more kind of brawlers in these kind of veins. However, I prefer better execution and better ways of doing it rather than certain kind of bullshit things that kind of pop up. And it's just like, alright, fine, I get making a brawler is hard and difficult. Like, you either go a route where it's like easy enough to get a handle on, where it's not complete button mashing, but not hard enough that it's a fucking full-fledged fighting game, because I'm not that much into fighting games, which is against me because I gotta do fucking fighting game mini games in Kiwami 2. But granted, that's what butt-throwing dudes are for, because I looked that shit up and I'm like, that's gonna be my thing. It'll make sense when I finally get to that perspective. And granted, they've even put weirder minigames in that one. Again, we will get to that when we get to that. But I would really not recommend this if you're really looking into story and character, and if you don't want to fuck around with weird design choices that'll really fuck with you. I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's like on the level of Deadly Premonition, because Deadly Premonition's systems were really fucking hard to kind of interact with me. Not that they were like difficult, but playing the game was not fun. Even though I wanted to look into the story and get more out of the story, it was just hard to kind of get through. This has shades of that for me. However, I didn't even have the enjoyable kind of story aspect to kind of go for. I like the idea of Kiryu Kazuma, however, it's the execution and everything that I kind of get hung up on. Now, granted, games further in this series might flip me on that, because I've only seen him young, and then his beginning here, and what's going on in Kiwami 2, and then him just popping up as the handing off person in Like a Dragon 7, which we will then see him more in 8. But we'll kind of get to that when we get to that. Yeah, the big tenets that I've got are the story and the gameplay design that just make it frustrating and irritating to actually get through. Now, granted, I can deal with a level of stress and irritation and frustration with certain kind of games to overcome a challenge. However, the way it's done and its execution matter mightily as well. If I feel like I'm getting fucked over with what's going on and I get over that hump, I don't really feel a sense of accomplishment. I kind of want to kind of give and take of where the game gets me through these systems, gets me to understand these systems, and then I get thrown into essentially a boss battle kind of puzzle thing, where I get to utilize this through beating this kind of boss. And then that's when I usually get that kind of sense of accomplishment, satisfaction, to be like, yeah, okay, there's that payoff. Yeah, because I was talking with Reaver of Jill Sandwiches, and he brought up that whole thing of like boss battles being puzzles, and he was right. And I was like, wow, that is a good way to put it, because it is a puzzle. Except it's usually kind of different than a usual kind of puzzle you're doing. Instead of like moving certain things into certain ways and unlocking and getting a certain kind of combination, you're utilizing the skills that you have acquired throughout the game to get past this puzzle. And it's like, that's actually a kind of cool thing. So like, shout out for that, for like getting me through and kind of like understanding that kind of portion of like boss battle design. Because granted, I could say that I really didn't enjoy these boss battles, but understanding how you need to kind of like fight through them with this kind of idea, that kind of had that kind of aha kind of moment, like, yeah, that's a very good way to put it. And yeah, I just don't really get this here. Like the Amon secret fight, you just gotta have the weirdest kind of shit that you can, and good luck to you if you're trying to fight him without fucking Tiger Drop. Like, that's a level of frustration and unfun that I would not do myself or wish on anyone, but if that's how you get your fun and relieve your stress, that you go for it. So, at this point, I would be like, okay, you could definitely check out Yakuza 0, but I would be careful if you're just kind of like going through the series on Kiwami 1, because it's rough, and you can tell it's still got the 2005 designs. It's got other things bolted on with it that just don't really flush with it, and you just have this like crazy ass shit going on that might have better payoff as you go throughout the series. So that is my perspective on Yakuza Kiwami. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.